Thank you. Joining the morning meeting here, former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Dore Gold. He is now president of the Jerusalem Center for Public Affairs and author of the new book, The Rise of Nuclear Iran, How Tehran Defies the West. He writes that diplomacy with Iran is not only futile, but also potentially deadly. Also back with us, Vicky Ward, Huffington Post blogger, contributing editor, Vanity Fair. Jonathan Capehart joining the conversation as well. Good morning, Mr. Capehart. Nice to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Radigan.
All right. Let us convene. Mr. Gold, if you look at the rhetoric out of Ahmadinejad and you look at the behavior, do you get any sense that there's any more conviction? And I'll ask you the same question, Vicky, because I know you cover Gordon Brown specifically in the UK very closely. England has a long history with energy in Iran going back decades. Right. Is there any sense that the Western European allies of the U.S., or for that matter Russia, are more inclined to distance themselves further / be more aggressive with sanctions with Iran?
Well, I would hope so. The Europeans in particular tried engagement with Iran from 2003 to 2005. It utterly failed, and the Iranians exploited those negotiations to move their nuclear program further. In fact, their head negotiator admitted that. And number two, to fend off international pressures. That's what they're going to try and do again.
To what extent does it diminish the U.S. or the West's leverage with Iran because they are perceived to give Israel preferential treatment?
Who's perceived to give Israel?
The Middle Eastern communities perceive the West, particularly the U.S., to give preferential treatment to Israel relative to the way they treat Palestine, etc. In other words, you're hearing just the beginnings of rhetoric from President Obama yesterday talking about the settlements, and we don't acknowledge the settlements. And I guess my question to you is how can the U.S.-Israeli relationship either be altered or better explained to the Middle East such that it is not viewed as such a sticking point or a thorn in the side for any diplomatic action between the U.S. and the Middle East?
I have a not-so-secret secret to share with you.
Lay it on me.
From Kuwait, down the Gulf, to Bahrain, to the United Arab Emirates, to Saudi Arabia, the #1 issue affecting those countries is the rise of a nuclear Iran. For them, the Palestinian issue was always close to their hearts. It is a sideshow today, and anyone who stresses this as the main issue of the Middle East is missing this radical change that has occurred.
And I'm not disputing that at all. What I'm saying is to the extent to which the United States wants to exert as much leverage as possible relative to Iran.
Sure.
Period.
Right.
How can they better either characterize or alter their relationship with Israel as it pertains to settlements or nuclear policy in Israel as a country relative to the Middle East so that they have more leverage relative to Iran? I think you understand the question.
You're the Saudi defense minister, and you want to defend the Ras Tanura oil outlets in the Persian Gulf. Yeah. Are you going to say to the United States, please don't help us defend us because the Israelis added a veranda to a settlement in Samaria?
That's not my point, but my point is that the ability to build rhetoric by portraying the United States as a direct supporter of Israel without any particular rules or regulations or without any particular discipline in the relationship between the U.S. and Israel diminishes America's diplomatic leverage.
It doesn't fly anymore. His rhetoric would have been really good at the time of Abdel Nasser in the 1960s, the 1970s. Today, people in the Middle East, the Sunni Arabs, are scared to death that Iran is going to dominate the area. They talk about the resurrection of the Safavid Empire. And therefore, I don't think he gets a big bang for his buck when he does Holocaust denial, when he goes to the whole litany.
What about nuclear? What about the exemption for nuclear nonproliferation for Israel?
Well, I think there's a fundamental point here that I think in the Middle East we understand, but maybe in some international fora it's not understood. In the whole area of nuclear proliferation and non-proliferation, and I'm talking now including the United States,
Russia, pick them,
everybody, Britain, France, and the whole mixture. You've got to distinguish between responsible countries and irresponsible countries. It's nice to have universal rules. Universal rules are very important, but in this area, a country which has been violating almost a half a dozen UN Security Council resolutions by illegally enriching uranium, a country which the IAEA says is developing nuclear warheads, you don't treat that in the same breath as responsible countries, particularly democracies.
Understood. You make a very good point. Thank you very much for the conversation. I hope you come back. Vicky, sit tight. Jonathan, sit tight. Straight ahead, we're plugging in to what else is going on out there. Ex-Miss California, Carrie Prejean.